GCK-King's Circle with Pastor Dr. W.F Kumuyi.
Dear Royal, are you ready to unlock your greatness? Or ready to unlock the hidden treasures God planted in you? Then welcome to GCK-King's Circle, the place where young minds are ignited and destinies empowered.
Today, we are honored to have a true giant in the circle, a former university don, a brilliant intellectual, and a man considered to be one of the greatest Christian leaders of our time. His unwavering dedication to empowering young people is legendary. This is no other than Dr. W.F Kumuyi.
My name is Dav, and I have with me
Theophilus.
Before we dive into today's enriching session, let's set the tone with this beautiful song. Enjoy.
Well, shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. There's joy in the house of the Lord today, and we won't be quiet. Well, shout out your praise. There's joy in the house of the Lord. Our God is surely in this place, and we won't be quiet. Well, shout out your praise. Oh, 'cause we were the beggars, and now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, and now we're running free. And we are forgiven, accepted, redeemed by His grace. And let the house of the Lord sing praise. 'Cause we were the beggars, and now we're royalty. We were the prisoners, and now we're running free. We are forgiven.
Imagine an athletic competition just when the whistle is blown for the race to begin. One of the athletes falls, and all efforts to get him stand and participate in the race fail. The world may seem to be coming to an end for him at that particular moment, right?
Yeah, right. You may be feeling your efforts are yielding nothing, or you may experience fruitlessness. But today, Dr. W.F Kumuyi has a message for you. Let's turn our attention to him as he takes us on a journey of self-discovery and recognition of the champion within us.
We've talked about Hannah that had sorrow. Let me just show you some other people that had sorrow too, and see how they solved their problem, how the sorrow was removed. There was a man we've heard of before. Let me read about him again. 1 Chronicles chapter 4. 1 Chronicles chapter 4 verse 9. And Jabez was more honorable than his brethren, and his mother called his name Jabez, saying, because I bear him with sorrow. But now, instead of the sorrow continuing, this man Jabez prayed, and things changed. In verse 10, and Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, oh, that thou wouldest bless me indeed and enlarge my cause, and that thine hand might be with me, and that thou wouldest keep me from the evil, that it may not grip me. And God granted him that which he requested. You will see then that in the case of Jabez, yes, there was sorrow. There was sorrow. As I told you in the other message, there was a bitter beginning, but then there was a better ending. The same thing we can say about Hannah. There was a bitter beginning, but there was a better ending, because the sorrow made her to pray unto the Lord. I want you to look at David's case now in Psalm 51. Psalm 51, the case of David is a case of backsliding. He had known the Lord from his youth, but then he backslid. He did things he shouldn't have done. He went into immorality, and the sorrow came heavy on him, and the burden came very heavy on him. The presence of God had left him, because when sin comes in, God goes out. When sin comes in, God goes out. But when God comes in, then sin will go out. In the case of David, sin came in. Immorality came in. And because of the sin that came in, the presence of God went out. The power of God went out, and the assurance and the faith and the intimacy she used to have with the Lord, everything went out, and that brought sorrow. Sorrow upon him. Sin always brings sorrow. And when you backslide, when you do the things you shouldn't have done, sorrow will come. Remember, always remember, your problem must lead you to prayer. Always remember that. Your problem must lead you to what? To prayer. And your sorrow must lead you to supplication. Now that I'm backsliding, I'm so sorrowful, I can only weep. My bones are broken. My heart is broken. Listen to this. Broken relationship will mean broken heart. If you break your relationship with the Lord, that's backsliding. Broken relationship will lead to broken heart. And he said that the bones that you are broken might rejoice. Hide thy face from my sins and blot out all mine iniquities. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew within me, renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from thy presence, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. Restore unto me. Restore unto me. What was he wanting now? The joy of thy salvation. He had lost that salvation. He had lost the joy. He had lost the intimacy with God. The burden of sin was now heavy upon him, and he was praying, O Lord, restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and uphold me with thy free spirit. Verse 17, the sacrifices of God, a broken spirit and a contrite heart, O God, thou wilt not despise. What brought sorrow in the case of David? It was his sin. It was his backsliding. You remember one man in the Bible called Jonah. This Jonah, he also had sorrow in Jonah chapter 2. Now you know, Jonah was disobedient. He was a prophet of the Lord. And this prophet of the Lord sent him to do something. And instead of doing what the Lord has sent him to do, he went the other direction. He went the opposite direction. That was disobedience in his life. As a result of that disobedience, problem came. But thank God once again, the problem that he got into in the whale's belly led him to prayer. I don't want you to forget that. Problems must lead you to prayer. The problem led him to prayer. The sorrow led him to supplication. And then when he prayed and when he offered his supplication before the Lord answered him. God answers prayer. I said God answers prayer. In Philippians chapter 4, Philippians chapter 4, there are 3 verses I want to point to you there, and you need to make the connection in your mind as we look at these 3 verses. Philippians chapter 4 verse 6, be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving let your requests be made known unto God. That is, problem may come, let it lead you to prayer. Sorrow may come, let it lead you to supplication. Make your request before the Lord. Will God answer? Will God answer? Was Hannah's prayer answered? Hannah was a woman of faith. Sorrow drove her to supplication. Problem drove her to prayer. Our problems and pains should always lead us to prayer. Prayer changes things. Give your heart to the Lord. As Samuel was offered to the Lord and he voluntarily gave himself completely, the Lord is saying, my son, give me your heart. My daughter, give me your heart. Consecrate to love the Lord. Consecrate to obey the Lord. Consecrate to serve the Lord. Consecrate to always thank the Lord. Love the Lord above every other thing, every other person on earth.
Dear Royal, we have learned today that barrenness is not only about the inability to have children, but also concerns a life that is not bearing productive fruits.
Regardless of how fruitless your life has been, it is never too late to be fruitful. Remember, to be a world changer for Christ, you need to be fruitful.
Thank you for joining us today. Stay blessed.
We believe that you've been impacted. Pastor Dr. W.F Kumuyi will love to hear from you. Please visit our social media platforms And don't forget to join us on the next episode of GCK King's Circle.